All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the All Van All Day podcast. I'm your host, Tom Van, and today's guest is former YouTube retired superstar, Nick Barbieri.
That's the best intro I think I've ever gotten. Retired superstar. I might put that on my business cards.
Dude, put that in your little bio, be like retired.
Yeah, update my LinkedIn. Get it on there. What's up, man? How you
Dude,
doing?
hey, it's been a long time.
A long time. We were just talking about this, 10 years, I think, is how long. I've been doing YouTube for 10 years, and I know for a fact I knew you before I started YouTube.
Way before. I think we were in middle school.
Yeah, because at first we were just playing Call of Duty. It wasn't even, we weren't filming anything.
No, we were just playing for fun because as a kid, we just like video games.
Yeah, well, we were 12 years old when Modern Warfare came out, or Modern Warfare 2,
Dude, those were the days.
It's a classic COD. COD's gone through some ups and downs. I think now it's starting to come back on the right side of things.
Oh, of course. Have you played the new one?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude, the new one, it's
all about it.
Yeah, I know some people are saying, oh, it's not, the maps are too big, the guns are just awful, that type of thing. But I think Call of Duty, I think is making a comeback.
It's definitely different. And to be honest, it's the type of stuff that we did back then that really got us to where we're trying to do now, the fact that you're doing a podcast, I'm really happy I got here to be the second person, because when I saw the post, I was like, oh dude, Tom has to let me come on.
Oh, of course, dude. I was going to ask you too. I was like, whoa, Nick's back in town. I want to get, his views on just the whole, social media type of thing, and just what being a former YouTuber and what's it like working for a YouTuber. We'll dive right into that as we get on, but let's still take it back to high school. We started a clan,
the If I Was clan. Yeah, the throwback clan. I mean, I think we were just trying to do trick shots and montages. I don't remember if we were trying to do any specific, if we had an objective, we wanted to go pro or something. We kind of toyed around with everything. I remember game battles.
Dude, game battles were legit.
We never won. They weren't legit. We got 0-30.
It may have been 0-30, but we did our best.
That was our best.
Being a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid, we did our best.
Yeah, I mean, I remember you carried pretty well. You pretty much knew what you were doing. Duva had some experience. No.
You were there for the commentary, to be honest.
I was there to talk the smack, you know, which I still do in the new COD.
Which is crazy because back then, I don't think, I was talking to my youngest brother. He's trash talking nowadays is nothing compared to.
They don't get it. They don't know what.
The Xbox 360 lobbies?
Those were, because it was so anonymous. And now Xbox is taking kind of a stance against it. I know some of our friends, not going to name names, have gotten bans for, sending messages and talking smack.
Dude,
or
those messages were
lobby.
if you see those messages nowadays, you'd be like,
oh yeah.
We were shitheads.
Yep. It was, but it's now that I'm into the new COD, that's the part of the game that I enjoy the most. Going into a search lobby and just talking crap the whole game and then coming out with that dub.
Oh, it's such a satisfying feeling.
Oh, yeah, it really is. So, yeah, I knew Tom, God, I feel way before we started the clan. But we started this clan basically because we were all playing Call of Duty all the time. And we just didn't. I was getting into YouTube. I think a couple of our friends had what was it called? The Hapage. You had a Hapage.
Yeah, right.
HD PVR.
Yeah, that was I think I still have that in my attic.
Oh, it's a brick.
It's an ancient brick of a recording device.
It's so tech is so weird like that too, because you get something like that serves literally no purpose in today's world because everything is on DVR. You can record from your Xbox, you can screen capture, you can share to Twitter. Back then, you literally had to loop your video cords through this little box, go into your computer, and then go to your TV so you could play. And it worked. I mean, it was the industry standard or whatever you want to call it.
And now that tech is so advanced, you don't even need to do half of that stuff, what you just said.
Well, I think now if your gaming console doesn't have the ability to do that, you're probably behind. You're probably not. They're talking about the PS5 and all this, and I think it's just going to keep going. I don't think there'll ever be a need or a dazzle, one of those little pieces.
Have you seen the concept for the PS5?
Yeah, I just saw it on Twitter. I mean, it's those are probably just renderings, but it makes me think about man, what's that next? Because when the Xbox One came out, there wasn't really anything groundbreaking about it.
Yep.
And then it slowly started to become better, with the crossplay, with Fortnite introducing that. and now you can do crossplay on Call of Duty.
I'm so happy I can play with people who do have an Xbox or a PS4.
Well, you remember back when we were playing, it's like if you were on Xbox or PS3, it was like a whole different squad of people you had to play with.
Yeah.
It wasn't, there was no like cross pollination. Like there were kids that I hung out with every day in school, never played COD with. And I think that's kind of crazy because it's really like so many little pieces that just brought the 6 of us together, like the If I Was clan. And when we started that clan, it turned into, you know, I feel like for me, every day after school, you know, I'd be the guy in the lobby recording it. I know you recorded a few kill cams for us as well. You had to get that final kill cam for the montage. And I mean, we tried everything at that point. Like that was when I was just starting to understand YouTube the way.
What was YouTube? Was AdSense a thing like back then?
AdSense was definitely, yeah, it was definitely
it was
a
just
thing.
Starting, right?
It was very early. I think within a couple of years of it coming out was when we made that. Because when I started my first YouTube, the Nick's Fingerboards one, that channel was the first channel that I got AdSense on, and I got one of those emails like when it was announced. So I think after that, that was the mindset for making the If I Was clan, is like, you know, we were watching clans like FaZe. I mean, FaZe clan was
FaZe was huge.
It was.
Yeah.
It is huge now. Like FaZe is incredible, but back then, man, they were doing the same thing we were. You know, they were just doing it. They were better at spinning in circles than we were.
What's it called, like the 720
no scope.
YY.
It was
switching your weapon type of thing.
Yeah, like the
no
kill
scope.
cams.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so. When we started that, it wasn't, I don't want you guys to think like it was, you know, what it is today. Like you start a trick shot clan, it doesn't really have any sense. But back in the day, that was kind of like the next wave. And I feel like that was sort of the start of me trying to figure out, you know, which piece is going to work. Like I know these fingerboard videos worked for a certain audience. Maybe these trick shot videos are going to be what works with the other audience. And to be honest, like it was mostly just the fact that we could all play together and I had an excuse to make vids.
Yeah,
you know,
because we were able to play with each other and just have fun. We were just having fun.
Well, and you remember back then too, like YouTube wasn't the cool thing that everybody wants to do that it is now. Like
no,
this was this weird guy in high school that had, you know, a Mustang and he was making YouTube videos. Like that was the extent
I remember
of it.
when you bought the Mustang, I was like, yo, Nick bought this with his own money.
With YouTube money, man.
YouTube
that
money.
was the craziest part to me too, is like I never thought that it was going to be a serious thing, and then it really it's lucky that that's the hobby that I chose when I was like 13, because it really set me up well for going into the real world. And
so when was the transition from like Nick's Fingerboard to like your channel, which was SGC Barbarian, right?
So I actually have a pretty funny story about that. When I think it was like 13, I was still playing soccer, and I was on a soccer team. It was like one of those North Soccer Club, you know, rec league, travel league type things. And I got slide tackled and broke my ankle. And like, I wasn't really into YouTube beyond making the fingerboard vids. And when I say fingerboard vids, you know, those little tech decks, like I would basically sell those, and I wanted to advertise them to other fingerboarders. So it wasn't really a thought to, I want to get like this huge audience on YouTube because that'll be cool. It was more like, let me make this commercial so I can sell these fingerboards that I'm making, you know?
Yeah.
Once I broke my leg, I didn't have, you know, I didn't play sports after that. I had baseball season was a wash. I think I re-broke my ankle after like 6 months of healing. So it ended up
You were very injury prone.
It was bad. Like there was about a 9-month period where I was just on crutches in middle school. I think it was like 8th grade. And I remember watching a couple of YouTube channels. Like I think it was Only Use Me Blade was the first guy I watched, which, you know, today guy's kind of a tool. So I don't like to tell people that he's the guy that got me started, but in truth, like I was watching his videos. He was making Call of Duty commentaries. C-Nanners, Hutch, all those guys
the
were
OG guys, yeah.
The OGs. And this was right when they were getting jobs at Machinima. So I was watching these guys literally make Call of Duty videos, playing the game that I also played with my friends, and then they were getting jobs from it, which was not like nowadays you think of a YouTuber, it's like, of course it's a job, it's a business. But back then it was like, wait, someone's paying him to do this that he's, how, you know,
that he's enjoying to do.
It was almost unexpected, but I think some people, you know, had better insight than, like, we were so young, like we were 15, 14 at that point.
Yeah.
So once I broke my leg, I was like, oh, I can make Call of Duty videos. Let me get, let me get that. And I think that's like the first step for bringing you guys in, because I don't remember if I had you do this before. I know I would take your gameplays from replay mode in Call of Duty. Like I remember doing like a 40-minute commentary of a demolition game that you gave me. I
Oh,
call
right.
it the Tom. It might still be on my
I
channel.
think it might still be there because I remember. So we would play the matches, and like if it was a really good, if I had 40 plus kills or something, I'd be like, Nick, hey Nick, I got this really good gameplay. You can use it for a commentary, and I would just like give it to you.
Well, because I couldn't get, like, I was never good at Call of Duty. It's really weird that I wanted to make Call of Duty videos and I couldn't get above like a .7 KD the whole time I played. I think my Modern Warfare 2 KD is still at like .8.
Did you ever get a nuke? I did.
No, to this day I have not gotten a nuke.
Damn.
Duva has got me a nuke on my console, on my account. He came over my house and recorded one. I basically would finagle my friends to come over and get me gameplays, or when replay mode came out, you would just start sending them to me. And I remember, I think now that you say that, I think I did use like quite a few of yours, because I was always on the hunt. I was like, I can't put up a gameplay that I did, but I still want to do these Call of Duty commentaries. It's just, it was so strange how that played out.
Could you please repeat it?
Oh, Siri's trying to.
That's a whole other conversation, man. These things listen to us.
Yeah, I was gonna say
My phone does that. My phone does that like 3 times a day.
Really?
And I don't say Siri. I don't say anything. It just said, well, now I said it, so I gotta watch what I say about Apple. But it's crazy. It's spooky.
Dude, they'll listen. That's why I freak out about sometimes with the whole government and like Siri listening. And
You just gotta be aware of it. There's no living without it.
oh, of course, yeah. Like I know I'm being listened to, watched, like at any moment, any time. You just have to live through it.
I think it's really silly that people are putting those cameras in their house, though. You know those Skype cameras you put on top of your TV? Like, I read a book called 1984 where it's a dystopian future, and basically the TVs have cameras that watch you the whole time, and the government decides if you're being a good citizen or not.
Oh, we read that for English class. Oh, right.
You were
right,
in
right.
Utopias? Yeah.
Yeah,
Holster.
yeah.
Shout out Holster.
Shout out Holster.
But it's like, I think I don't remember if it was that one or The Road, but there was a lot of good stories in that.
What was the other
class.
book? Fahrenheit
451.
451.
Brave New World's another one I think is super relevant.
I want to start reading again.
Oh, dude, those books are great books to read, because when you're young, I don't know. I was always a big reader, so I kind of, when I was in high school, I liked those classes. I think I took like 6 English classes my senior year because I knew I wasn't going to college. So I was like, let me just take something that I know I'm good at and get this over with, and not take any sort of math or science where maybe it wasn't as natural to me.
That's such a good segue into, for the people that are listening that are, like in high school, like, right, the senior year. And, for me, I went to a 4-year college, got my degree, blah, 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 all that stuff. But for you, after high school, you didn't go to college, right? After high school, you went straight to just into the full-time YouTube career.
That makes it sound like I had a plan. Like, it definitely wasn't that's why I say I got really lucky. This was the thing that I was interested in when I was a kid, because, I could have just as easily been into dirt bikes and tried to make a career out of that. And I'm not saying that, there's not people that have done that, but it's like, I'm just very lucky and blessed that the space that I'm in was just a rocket ship, like it's just blown up immensely. 10 years ago, you couldn't even make YouTube videos and make money. It was just something, and there was definitely nobody doing it to try to make money, because that was a fool's errand. It just wasn't going to happen. But now with the rise of social media and all these phones, like,
yeah, and all these companies wanting to put ads,
major brands, they're starting to wake up. I mean, the thing is though, like, you need the context too. Like, you need to understand YouTube as a whole. And I think a lot of these companies are coming into it a little bit on the later side of things. But sorry, you were trying to segue to something. I completely segued away from
no,
it.
it's all good. I just wanted to segue.
Oh, college.
Yeah.
I got you. So when I was a senior, I applied to Syracuse Early Decision, which, if Early Decision, I don't know if you remember, it's the binding one.
Yep.
So
so if you get accepted,
you gotta go.
You gotta go.
And the gimme is like, you don't get financial aid, but you have a slightly better chance of being accepted. And I was like a 2.8 GPA student. So I was really trying to go to Syracuse because I thought I was going to go into television, and Newhouse Communications is one of the best.
They have one of the best programs.
And the network, the alumni network, people, the connections, that's really what I'm telling you, I'm turning this thing
Dude,
off.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
watching me.
Siri is yeah, maybe like do not disturb mode or some sort of mode, but Siri is really, really creeping in right now.
No, she's off. I don't know if they can still listen to you when it's off, but we'll find out.
We'll find out.
So when I applied to Syracuse, like I knew in my heart I wasn't going to get in, but I kind of kept that like college hope alive with the thought that, hey, like Syracuse is a really pretty, it was a really pretty campus. Like I think I would have enjoyed my time there. I don't think it would have helped me as much as what I did afterwards. So bottom line, I didn't get into Syracuse. Surprise, surprise. They didn't want a 2.8 GPA student in their world-class communication school. But that was really like, I remember specifically reading the letter, and then I still had like 4 or 5 other schools that I was applying to, and I was pretty sure I was going to get in. Syracuse was definitely my reach. But after I didn't get into that, I just said, well, if I'm not getting into Syracuse, I'm not going to pay this much money for a degree. Like, I just don't. Maybe I'll see if I can save up enough money with YouTube, and maybe I can apply in a year and get back in. That was like literally my thinking.
Because like in all honesty, your degree right now it's just sitting in my degree is sitting in my closet, right?
Yeah,
And it's just a
how
piece.
many people ask to see it when you apply for jobs?
0.
Exactly.
It's just a piece of paper that you paid, X
It's
amount
a
of
valuable piece of
a
paper.
valuable piece of paper that's X amount of thousands of dollars just to sit there.
And the thing is, like, when you're in high school too, you don't really understand, like, oh, a scholarship is like real money because you're just going to college. You're just signing, at least where we're from. Like, I feel like in North Attleboro, it's very like you're expected to go to college. I remember, a lot of the teachers that I had were very shocked because I was a student who could get into college, but I was choosing not to go. And especially when I told them why, and I was like, I'm just going to do YouTube videos. They were maybe not like thinking it was going to work out for me.
But I think nowadays, I think it's more acceptable for you to not go to college because you see more and more younger
I
people.
think the younger people too are figuring it out. Like, I think when you're 13 and you can make TikToks and you can get brand deals for that, like it changes your perspective on what, you're dealing with business, you're dealing with money. Like you're growing up a lot faster. Like I know that's the big thing that helped me was not only earning money on my YouTube channel. And I did well in high school. It wasn't like I could support a company or anything, but I was doing better than a 16-year-old should, or,
At that
should.
time, should. Yeah, in quotations.
And after that, like, I feel like it kind of just set the mindset for, like, okay, I'm 18. I don't really have any debt. That's a huge, leg ahead because I know a lot of our friends
Are in debt.
drowning.
Drowning in debt.
And it's funny how, like, I actually did think I was going to go back. I was like, I don't want to be in debt, so I'm just going to save up all my money and then I'll just pay for college up front. And, after a year of doing that, I realized, like, it just wasn't. I didn't need to go to college if I played my cards right. Like I was still, I'd say up until like a year ago, I still considered going back. Like it was just.
And also too, I think it's never too late to go back.
No,
There's plenty of people at any age can go back to college.
If you really need, like the thing that I've been toying around with is like, I've wanted to get into, sort of the behind the scenes on YouTube. So if I wanted to continue to be in this space, do I need that degree to sort of, is there going to be like a ceiling without it? And what I'm finding now, and like the last year has kind of been the first time that I'm kind of pretty content with not going back. I may do it at some point just to say I did and have some fun and like I enjoy learning, but I don't think that information in that piece of paper is like super necessary for me to do my job. And that was the big eye opener working where I work now.
And I feel like I value more so like the experiences, right? Like the actual experiences.
Well, oh yeah, I mean college is a blast when you're 18. You go 18, 19 to 21 or 22, it's like the best time of your lives.
Yeah.
But if I were to go back, definitely it wouldn't be that. Nor would I want it to be either. I enjoy a good party, but it's very like I noticed when I was in college years visiting all of our friends, like I don't think I would have liked partying that much.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I got rid of all of my like the partying system out of me. Like when I was
after
like during
4
those years. Yeah.
I mean, plus it's like you're all young, you're all doing the exact same thing. Most of you anyway. I mean, there's always some older people that are either enrolled late or whatever the situation might be. But like, yeah, college is definitely it's interesting. We could do a whole podcast on college.
We could. It has its pros and cons, but so instead of you going to college, where'd you end up going?
That was a little bit confusing for a while. So I basically, my mom was very upset that I didn't go to college. Like my dad was kind of more, he understood, he was always the person I was talking to about the YouTube stuff. So he kind of understood why I wasn't and saw the potential. My mom was much more skeptical, when I didn't go to college, I spent a few months kind of just chatting. I had made so many friends at this point. Like that's the thing you got to understand about YouTube is like when it was first starting out, it was a very tight-knit community. It wasn't like now where I could name a type of video and then you could find 10 channels I've never seen before that are doing that to a very high level, like millions of subscribers. And there's just so many people, it's impossible.
It's like
to know
oversaturated.
everybody. Yeah, well,
to an extent.
It could be oversaturated. It could just be like there's more people. Like I know my mom watches videos on YouTube now, and they're definitely not Call of Duty trick shots. So there's more there's more verticals to get into. But what I was trying to say about what I did was like for 2 months, I just kind of talked to my friends. Turns out one of my friends, Zach, was getting a little bit of sort of an offer to go be a part of this company called Sky Media out in Seattle, and this was with a guy that I had known for 4 years, Sky. And at that point, we weren't on really great terms. So it was a little bit dicey getting me out there. And, I wanted to be a part of this as well. It sounded like a really cool thing, doing a YouTube based company where the whole purpose is to sort of produce content and, do it at scale.
So for context, what's the background of Sky Media?
So Sky Media, before I got there, was basically just one man. It was just Adam. Sky Does Minecraft was a YouTube channel that he ran. And like I said, I've known him for so long because we were both a part of the same niche, the same Minecraft video niche way, way before, all these kids got into Minecraft. It was much more like, hey, there's this indie game, Minecraft. Like people play games and they do videos on it. So when I met him, it'd been like, not one of my closest friends, but I still kept in touch. And I forget why at the time I was on bad terms with him. I think it was something to do with Twitter, I'm sure. I had a
good old Twitter beef.
I had a big mouth on Twitter, man. Sometimes
I've seen your tweets, not gonna lie. A lot of stuff back then. People probably would have been, well, this guy is yeah.
there were definitely, I almost got suspended tweeting at the principal. Remember that?
Oh, I remember that one. That was a wild tweet.
I'm sure it was something similar to that where Adam just it wasn't his favorite person. But I took a trip out there, I think the end of August, like right around move-in time for college. I took a trip out to Seattle, spent 2 weeks out there, and basically made peace with him. He, it was no big deal. It was like petty stuff. And I wanted to move out there. I didn't at that point know if I was going to be a part of Sky Media, but I did know that being around YouTubers in real life that way, was something that I really, really appreciated because, as much as we all got into the YouTube space, I feel like even If I Was clan, it was always a lot more to me than I think it was to everybody else. Everybody else was just in it for the fun of it versus I really liked the YouTube aspect. I think that might have been my second favorite part other than playing till 1 a.m. with the boys, obviously.
I feel like if you're surrounded by people that are like-minded like you, and you guys are all doing the same thing, I think that motivates you as a person, and it makes you appreciate, I really want to keep doing this type of thing.
And I've seen it in a few different places. I almost moved to Wisconsin after high school, believe it or not. I actually signed a lease for an apartment in Wisconsin because the guys that were moving to Sky Media, Zach, they were from Wisconsin.
Oh, that's right.
So they had a dairy farm. They were Wisconsin born and raised. So
okay.
I went out there for Thanksgiving the year before, and I was already pretty sure I wasn't going to get into college. So I was like, okay, let me see if, I want to move here. And I found an apartment, and then things just happened so quickly. Sky Media became a thing, and that's what drew them out to Seattle. So that's why I ended up going to Seattle over. I had no previous interest in moving anywhere. I thought I would just stay at home and travel. But when I say travel, I mean travel to the conventions, visit friends on the weekends, things like that. But it really just kind of happened. And I ended up in Seattle for 3 years. I stayed there.
Wow, 3 years.
So for the first year, I lived on my own. I actually met one of my great, great friends, Red. who was just a random roommate. I needed a roommate for my apartment. I got a 3-bedroom apartment off the jump for no reason. And it just was such a terrible decision. But I found a guy before I moved in who was a part of Sky Media. He was same as me, just out here. He had been a YouTuber. He was just looking for that next thing. And he turned out to be like, you know how you talk about like your college roommates and like, I feel like you have that bond with someone, like your first time living on your own. And that's kind of what it was for me and him. Like it was our first time living. He's from California. I'm from Boston, obviously.
East Coast, West Coast. Yep.
So being on our own, it was a very cool bonding thing. And that guy's like my brother for life. So that was the first year. Then Sky Media started to get interesting because instead of it just being a YouTuber that was trying to do YouTube videos and trying to assign people, and the thing that I think is really important for you, especially to understand about these YouTubers, there's no prerequisite for success on YouTube other than uploading the videos. You don't have to know how to run a business. You don't need to know how to have people skills. You don't need to know how to be a good person. You just need to upload the YouTube videos. And in 2011, it was a lot easier because there was a lot less YouTube videos being uploaded. So you had this guy with, I think, 10 million subscribers
he had
at
a
the
lot.
time. He was one of the biggest. I mean, I remember when he blew up, he was one of the first gamers to hit 5 million subscribers, and everybody else was just crossing 1. Like, no one had 2. So it was really like him and like everybody
else.
So when I got out there and it started off as just him, I kind of was a little bit more cautious because I could kind of see, even being 18, I didn't really know how to articulate it, but I just figured out that this doesn't feel right. Like there was a whole bunch of stuff that I don't really want to get into, but it's basically just, it didn't feel like a real company. Then his business manager, Mike Beinstock from Semaphore, who to this day is like one of my biggest mentors, came into the picture. And I think a week into working there, I did my interview with him, did my interview with Adam and Mike, got hired as, I forget what my job was, but within a week, Mike basically realized like, this kid wants to work. Like at that time, I literally didn't want to do anything besides make YouTube videos.
So he saw your potential.
He saw that I was willing to put in a lot more effort than Adam was. And, you know, Adam had a lot of talent, a lot of skills, and I still have a lot of love for the guy, but he had an abysmal work ethic. So what Sky Media taught me for those next 2 years was really like how hard I can work. You know, there were nights where it was like 70-hour weeks and I'm there till 2:00 in the morning setting up videos. And it maybe didn't even turn into a vid. Like something would happen and he would oversleep or something along those lines. So it taught me a lot about like, this is a real space to be in, the support role for other creators. And I think my job title was like director of operations. I was not directing anything. Like I was just swimming. We had about 12 employees. I had never even, up until then, Tom, like I had never been an employee. I never had a job.
Right. Yeah, you were
like,
just...
It was always YouTube.
Yep.
So I was trying to manage people that were twice my age without even knowing what a manager does.
Yeah, you had no background in any of that. But I feel like through that experience that you had with Sky Media, you learned so much from it. You learned from it, and you brought that to your next experience.
I really wouldn't be where I am today without Sky Media. Like, it wasn't my favorite experience. I wouldn't do it again, knowing what I know now. But I think it was absolutely critical because you got to go through, it's almost like trial by fire. Like, you have to go through that shit to actually get to where you want to go. And for me, that was like the big eye-opening experience of, okay, I can actually do this. I can make a career out of this, and I can make sure that just because I'm not in the videos doesn't mean I can't work in this space.
Man, that was very, very deep.
Dude, I think a lot about deep stuff. I'm a very deep person.
No, you are. You definitely are. And I definitely want to, keep that momentum going. But we are going to take a quick, short break, guys, and we'll be right back. All right, and we are back, everyone, for the second half of the podcast.
Second half kickoff.
So we were finishing up Seattle, right? Seattle.
So I worked at Sky Media for the most of the second year, going into the third year. The third year came around, and at that point, I was starting to realize there was a lot of problems with the company, and that it wasn't going to be a long-term thing for me. So there was a couple of ultimatums where I was trying to get people to come in and help. Another one of my mentors that I met, like Scott Pellegrino, was a showrunner for Undercover Boss, and basically just all around amazing dude. Taught me so much in the 2 weeks we worked together. Didn't end up coming on right away to Sky Media, which kind of upset me because it was a lot of work for me. And so I spent the last 7 months in Seattle not working there, just doing my YouTube channel. And Seattle, if you've ever been there, it's very rainy.
I haven't been there yet.
Oh, go during the summer. The
That's the
summer's
thing.
amazing. It's one of the best places in the world in the summer, in my opinion. During the other 9 months, it just pours. Like it's a misty, constant drizzle of wetness, and it's just not enjoyable.
Does it snow at all?
No, I didn't
No.
see any snow. Apparently, it had been like 5 years since it had snowed there.
That's crazy to think
So,
about.
I don't know if that's, I mean, they've got mountains and stuff, but in the city, definitely no snow. So after that, it was just so depressing. Like, I didn't want to be out there. I had, obviously my father died. That was like bringing me back home. So I made the decision, I think before I even decided to start my company, I made the decision to go back to Boston. And I have a lot of respect for Mike for this reason, because when I moved back, like, it wasn't like I lost those connections I had made. And in fact, Mike tried to bring me back for some consulting work, like I think 2 or 3 months after I left. So I ended up moving back for a little bit, basically for the summer. Finally decided, hey, I really don't enjoy living here. I'm just going to go back to Boston and just live with my folks and
kind of like establish yourself back home.
just, go back to my roots.
Yeah.
Like, it's where I was most comfortable doing YouTube. I didn't have a reason to go to Seattle. I didn't have anything. There was no next step pulling me in a different direction. So I came back here, and that's when I started to do my own company. So Mike, his whole business venture and sort of reason for being in this space is to provide YouTubers with, the business sense that maybe they're lacking, and sort of help them establish companies that are going to be really valuable in this space. Because I think he saw it before a lot of other people did, where this space was it's like a powder keg. So it was going to blow up. It was just a matter of when. And the people who were going to take advantage of that, they weren't going to be people doing this out of their bedroom. Like, you have to have a team. You have to be consistent. You have to be able to get this like off the ground when you launch it, right? That was sort of what I wanted to do with my company. And I figured, hey, Sky Media didn't work because this, and this. I don't do any of those things. So those must be the only possible problems that can come up when starting a business. It turns out that's not true. But when I moved back to Boston, I think it took me about 3-4 months to finally lock down a space and then start hiring employees. And I think we got up to, did you ever come back by the Otterbro studio?
Yeah, I did. I remember when I came to visit you. So I think that was my second year. Yeah, it was my sophomore year of college. And when I came back for break, it was like you during that
so
time.
that was right around then. And were there people there yet, or was it just me?
No, there were a lot. There were a lot of people there, and the whole office was like all set up.
Okay, so you came because it was a journey to get it. We basically rented a 100-year-old building in Attleboro that had been used as a storage unit for 20 years. I mean, there were desks from the 50s in there. So
It was old.
it was old, drafty, noisy, had leaks. The pipes would leak. I mean, it was literally as ghetto as you can get. But it was $1,000 a month, and I really wanted to put most of the money towards the actual people, because I knew, like, Sky Media, the biggest difference between what I was doing and what they were allowing me to do was we had 12 people that we could put, 3 of them were editors. We could have the videos be super well produced. We could have, someone on the camera, someone on the audio. It was really, really, and as well as having people in the videos, the talent. That was one of the big things that I knew, like, if I could nail the talent,
Everything else will flow.
because I sort of already had this inkling in my head. I wasn't as like firm about it at the time, but basically realized at Sky Media, I don't want to be in the videos. Like, I like doing this behind the scenes stuff. I can work harder at it. It's not as draining. And I think part of it that I didn't really recognize at the time is, like, I kind of knew I wasn't an actor. I never was. Like, you remember me in high school, it was just Call of Duty videos. So it wasn't like I was a drama student that suddenly made YouTube videos. And I think as the space developed, that's really the skill that you needed that I kind of lacked. Like, you need to be able to carry on camera really, really well, especially for the space that I was in, which was, kid-friendly entertainment. So
Yeah, I definitely saw you more as a person like behind the scenes, because I knew, you had the skill set that was able to, direct people or be able to just like have a knack to come up with those like ideas. But
when you've made 2,000 YouTube videos, you kind of start to figure out like what works. And there were certain things that I was really good at, ignoring. Like some people can get super caught up in the weeds and like miss the forest for the tree type thing. I, on the other hand, was like much more able to separate, like, this is really creative, but it's going to make it really difficult to produce. Let's just do it this way. Well, then it kind of is not that cool. There's got to be something in the middle
In
that's
between.
like, yeah, not crazy hard to produce, but it's still going to have that like wow factor. So that's what I was trying to do in Boston, and it worked out really well. I met some really great people. You know, Shane, if you remember him.
I remember him. He was a really cool guy.
He was my project manager, and he had zero YouTube experience. When I first started with him, I think he had maybe done a season of his fishing show for network TV, which was a whole different world. And what's funny is, like, to me, that was a more successful world. Come to find out that it's actually a pain in the butt. Like, when he got into YouTube,
I can imagine.
he immediately was like, there's no gatekeeper, there's no NBC, there's no MSNBC I have to talk to, there's no producer I have to make edits for. It's like, I can do whatever I want, and if it's good, people are going to watch it. So he really took to YouTube like very early on. I think I worked with him pretty much until the company shut down. And I think that was about 12 months after I started. I basically decided, you know, I was starting to realize how taxing it is to run a company. You know, like Adam, I think I give him a lot of credit now, having gone through it myself, where, you know, you're carrying $30,000 a month in payroll. Like, that's a big stressor. You know, you think that it's just not a big deal, you just cut the checks, but in my experience, at least, it was a lot of stress that I really didn't like in my day-to-day, because I'm a people person. Like, I just think about, you know, these people are literally depending on me for their mortgages, their rent, their Christmas presents.
They're literally, you're like their lifeline.
And I think
much.
it made me less likely to let people go who weren't great fits versus just hiring more people. You know, that was my mindset. Like, if this person doesn't work out, we'll just hire somebody else, and they'll eventually catch up. But you have to have the training and the sort of infrastructure in place to get that, versus like a startup situation where
It just takes time and effort to do more of that.
And part of the thing too, you know, sort of getting into the Texas time is during that time of running the company. I think when I shut it down, it was August. I think by April, I had this thing in my head where, you know, I had known Preston for a long time on YouTube, and we had filmed videos together. We were fairly similar in mindset. I didn't know quite how similar at the time, but when I moved out there in April, I had this in my head that I was going to live there on the weekends and fly back here and run my company during the week. Total pipe dream.
I was going to say, that's a lot to,
It
you know,
was-
going back home and then flying. That's a lot.
And think about, like, and I knew it was a lot, right? So think about what would have drove me to make that decision. It was really just sort of the early signs of recognizing, like, wow, this kid's special. You know, I knew he was a super successful YouTuber, but I've been around that before. I met Adam, and I was, you know, very quickly disillusioned of, you know, wow, this guy has 10 million subscribers. He must be amazing.
He must be amazing. He must do all these crazy things.
It turns out, you know, Preston is the real deal. So very quickly, I started to realize, like, I need to spend more time around this guy, because this guy is who's going to take it to the next level in the next, like, 5 years.
And this was April of 2018.
This is I've been out in Texas for 2 years. So this is 2018.
Yeah.
April 2018. And I think at that point, when I shut the company down, I did a couple things. One, I kept Shane on, because Shane was amazing. Like, it's crazy to me that we grew up 7 miles apart from each other, never met each other.
Wow.
And all it took was me hiring a project manager for him to just find me. And we worked so well together. So I was basically like, you can't leave. I'm going to give you your full salary. You just have to stay here, and we're going to make you a YouTube channel. And I think his YouTube channel now, it's coming up on 2 years. It's gone through a couple different stages, but he's just passing 700,000 subs.
Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome.
I mean, he takes the majority of the credit, but I think what I took away from it was just the idea that, like, okay, I really do know what I'm doing. And if I can find the right people and learn how to sort of dispense that information so that they can comprehend it and not just this crazy mess that's in my head, I could really do something cool there. So right after we started that channel, he stayed here. I moved to Texas. And same thing as Seattle. Like, I just had a gut feeling.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have any hardcore plans. In fact, I actually rented a space in Preston's office for about 3 months, just so that, with the sole purpose, like, I hardly ever worked out of there, but I wanted to make sure that when I was working, it was next to him and that he was seeing what I was doing, because I thought that there was going to be a good fit there somehow. It only
So you took that leap of faith.
Yeah, it was
much.
literally like I could have moved out to Texas for no reason. I mean, I had reasons. There were a lot of people out there. Preston was one of them. There was a group of Roblox YouTubers that I was close with, and living in Boston was great. I got to spend a lot of time with my mom, my sister before she went to college, but it was also very like isolating because I have a lot of friends, but you guys are all going through a whole different stage of life than me. Like you're sophomore in college, like you're not thinking about a job or anything, or even remotely close to YouTube.
No,
so
yeah.
I kind of wanted, I was craving that part of Seattle again. So I moved out to Texas, got an apartment with a couple of my good friends, John and Keith, and basically just started trying to make myself useful to Preston in any way I could. I'd always been of the mindset, like, I'm going to bring him as much value as I can because I'm just lucky to be here, be in his videos. He's getting millions of views and I'm doing, 100,000, 200,000. I want to be this guy's best friend. I want to make sure that it's not just he's helping me out. It's like he actually can't do this without me. Was always
so you were giving value to like you made sure to try to give him value as much as like
I would bring him
can.
Minecraft maps. I would bring him voice actors, like whatever I thought would make his videos better. I would just do it for him, and he would try to pay me. I'd be like, no man, like I just want you. I want you to know that this is like I'm helping you out on this, and just make me a part of it. That's it. Like, and that's kind of the mindset that I think helped me when I was working there get into being an actual like employee and be able to handle a lot of stuff for him.
Yeah, and for context, what's Preston's channel all about? For the people that
Preston's
don't know.
channel, Preston's one of the premier kid-friendly entertainers, family-friendly entertainers. So it was a very similar, that's a good point for context. My channel, the million subscriber channel that I have, it was mostly the gaming stuff that, sort of worked during, I'd say the 8 years that I ran it, but it was almost exclusively the kid-friendly, family-friendly, all ages content, especially when Minecraft kind of blew up in that space.
When it blew up in that space, yeah.
The young kids got on it with the Xbox and, making fun little videos there. That was kind of like my niche. It fit really well with Preston at the time. He wasn't even doing real life at the time. Now we've launched 2 real life channels. He's married, so his wife has a channel with 2 million subscribers. So at this point, when I first joined, he just had one. He had his main channel, uploaded Minecraft, and that's it. Very quickly after coming on, I think the first week I was there, we started filming the real life videos, and I kind of realized I'm good at that as well. Like it's a similar space as the gaming. It's just different.
Different
You
type
gotta
of thing.
learn how to shoot with the camera. You in Minecraft, the camera's constantly moving, so you got to constantly move this camera as well and not have stagnant shots. It's a whole like different sort of space, I guess, than maybe like what you're trying to do, which is, I don't know if there's going to be any kids watching this, but maybe they are.
Maybe they are. Maybe
this
they will.
is content that I would consume. You know what I mean? It would be entertaining to me. And not to say that the other stuff isn't. It's just not targeted towards people that are like our age. You know what I mean? 23,
Yeah,
25.
true. I feel like if you want to dive into that, like this podcast, the reason why I wanted to start it, right, was, I love talking to people, and I love talking to people mostly like our age, and the people that are listening, they kind of want to hear different perspectives and stories of like people from all backgrounds, right? And that's why I wanted to bring you on, because you have such a unique background where you didn't go through that whole, we grow up, go to school, go to college, graduate, get a job, that type of spiel. You went like such a different route, and it's so unique hearing your experiences and just the where you are now. And it's also crazy to think that you've already owned a business. You've already just done just all this type of adult, I'm going to say adult in quotations, like adult type things when we were kids, pretty much.
Yeah,
Practically. Because I feel like in our young 20s, I'm still a kid.
Oh,
like,
no, I still consider myself a kid. I definitely, I'm not like ignorant to the fact of what you just said, though. Like it is a unique path to take. It didn't feel really that different for me. Like it just kind of felt, I don't know, like I'm just blessed. I have really great parents. Like they really kind of instilled in me, like if I can do this, like they're not going to judge me for it. They want me to be happy, versus I think a lot of people, it's kind of like that classic game of, I want you to go to college, you live in this house, you go by my rules. And
yep.
it just never, it never felt that way. So they definitely helped me a lot more than I knew at the time. And now I'm much more aware of, what's gotten me to where I am now and what I think is going to get me to where I want to be in 10 years. So I'm actively seeking that stuff. Going out to Texas to see Preston, I think was really like, it solidified the mindset for me because I wasn't really sure what I was going to do out there, but I had an idea of like what the best case scenario would be. And now I'm here and I'm doing that best case scenario. I'm the creative director for one of the top channels. I work with brands all the time that, I played with as a kid, and I'm learning things about this space that I wasn't even aware of 5 years ago. And I didn't even think we're going to be relevant, like it's been a journey, bro.
That's crazy.
But I want to talk about you and your podcast because the reason I wanted to be, first off, I'm really upset I didn't get number one. I'm sad I didn't get here fast enough.
Oh no, Connor.
I flew in yesterday at 4 a.m. I should have flown in on Sunday.
Just flew in on Sunday, be like, all right, I'm going to be your first guest.
But the reason I hit you up immediately when I saw this was because I think it's so cool that like, even though it might have taken you a different type of path, you're still trying, like, I feel like you're trying to do the same type of thing, like trying to get something out there, trying to do your own type of hustle versus a regular 9 to 5 and just calling it quits. Like there's no effort beyond that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like after college, like I think what was most defining moment for me was when I was a junior in college and I lived in New York for the semester. That's where I found my love.
That's right. And you did some vlogs. I remember that.
Yeah, so that's where I found my love for like film and photography.
Just creating.
And again, like you said, I did try some vlogs, but that wasn't my style. So it wasn't until like after I graduated college that I was like, oh, do podcasts? Like, I think that's really interesting. And people, they're just talking with each other. And
I tell people this all the time too. It's like, and you mentioned this before we started, how from the first episode, you had some feedback that, you watched it and you're like, oh, I need to not do that. I need to do this better. I need to say more of this. That's going to go 10x when you do 5 episodes, 10 episodes. Like, I think it's so cool to be a part of the first one, but then like, the next time I come on, I just know it's going to feel like a completely different show. Like you're gonna
I'm excited for that.
You're already a natural at this, man. I really do think you should stick with it because I feel like you're really good at pulling information out of people. Like I came in here, I had no idea what I was going to talk about. Like I can talk about myself all day long. But yeah, I just wanted you to know that like you're one of those like 5 or 6 people from our high school that I feel like has that switch turned on for them in their brain. Like, I can do this, myself. And, like shout out Tilly, Rapta, like Nate, like all those guys.
I can't wait to interview them too.
Doing their actual side hustle and turning it into something.
Yeah. And that's the thing I realized too, because again, I still have my, day job. I'm grinding that out. But the thing is, like, you can still do your side hustle while doing that, right?
That's what I was going to say. It's not about, like, oh, I know Tilly works at a bar as a bouncer. Like, I work, if I didn't make money doing what I did right now, I'd still do what I do right now. I would just have a job on the side, and I would be able to do it less hours, but I'd still be doing it.
You're still doing it,
I think that's, like, really the key is not, oh my gosh, I need to go full time at this. This has to happen.
You don't have to. Like, you can take your time, you grind it out. And
how many years were we doing vids in high school? 6 years?
Yeah.
I did 6 years without even needing to make money off of it because I'm a kid in high school. That was the difference for me. Like, I just started earlier, but there's no reason that you can't turn this podcast, to me, like, the only thing that's going to stop you from being the best podcast person is if you stop making podcasts.
That's true.
Like you can't get better at playing baseball by just watching it.
You actually have to play it.
You have to consume it. And you have to know like there's going to be hiccups. Not every vid's going to be perfect.
Oh,
and
no,
you'll
of
never
course not.
upload the perfect vid.
Yeah. But as long as it's out there, like I think that's all I'm concerned about is like, I want people just to watch, listen, just hear these stories. And
also, how cool is it going to be to show our kids this stuff?
What? Like
home movies are one thing,
yeah.
man. Like the amount of info and content that people are putting out, even just casual people putting Instagram videos or TikToks. Like,
yeah, you can watch this years from now and be like,
2050 Thanksgiving is going to be lit.
Oh my God, dude, we're going to be like, oh, dude, we'll be 55.
That's going to be young by then. That's going to be young because I think there's a difference between like 50-year-olds now who didn't grow up with technology versus our generation who grew up with technology and is going to be much more able to sort of follow the path and the trajectory. It's going to be exponential, but it's not going to be like when we're 50, we're going to have no clue how anything works. Like, I think we're going to kind of grow up with it.
True. And then, whatever technology is at that point in time, probably be something insane, to be honest.
I don't think this is the podcast to get into what we think technology is going to be. I could
That
go on
that
for
could be we could go on
hours
for
about
hours, but yeah, no, yeah. Hey, I think thanks for like. I like that. I like when people give me that positive support. I think that's what friends are supposed to do, right? Like friends are.
That's the best friends that I've had, man. Like, I don't know, like maybe in high school I would have kept someone around that was talking shit, but like I'd rather be around people that are actively trying to, make something happen, and like we just all support each other.
Yeah,
Dude. There's a reason.
and they're following their passion and they're doing like what they love to do. And for me, I enjoy doing this type of stuff, and I love supporting my friends who are trying to do their own thing too. And if they're supporting me, that's awesome.
And I said, what, 5 or 6 people? We graduated with a class of 300. I mean, like that's,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's, 5 people I'm not thinking of or I've never talked to in that mindset. But like, think about how crazy that is. Like less than 10%, less than 5% of people that we went to high school with
Yep.
kind of think about things this way. And I think this is the way to think. Like, I don't know. We could all be wrong. We could be laughing at ourselves in 5 years.
Yeah,
but
who knows? But the thing is, like 5 years from now, this is my next question. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? But for me, if I'm not doing this podcast, then I'm not. But if I still am, then that's awesome. But this is something today that I'm doing that I enjoy. Like I enjoy doing this.
You
type of
won't
stuff.
regret it. You won't regret doing this. That's the thing. And
Yeah.
it's like, where do I see myself in 5 years? I mean, if you asked me that when I was 13, I'd say I own FaZe Clan. You know what I mean? I'm a trick shotter. But in reality, I was sort of getting into the operations side of things and managing people and learning about that. What I'm doing now, I think, is going to have very little to do with what I'm doing in 5 years, but I know for a fact that this is the foundation for it. Whether it's talent management, whether it's
Yep.
staying in the creative director role, or, doing something on the consulting side and just trying to scale the advice that I can give these creators. I personally think that I'll probably still be with Preston. Like,
Yep.
I know I talked a little bit about this, but I think the people that you're around, like you said, it's very, very important. And he's one of the best people that I've ever met. So to have that as your boss and also a mentor, it's like, I don't really see what would pull me away from it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless
like,
something
he's gonna
like
have
drastic
he's gonna have
happens.
to kick me out the door. Like
Yeah.
I every day I go into work, I'm like, I want to do the best possible job because I know it's not just my channel and someone's gonna see it and maybe it's like, no, this is literally the cutting edge. Like you're talking about one of the top influencers in the space. I want to do a good job for that. Like that's the stuff that motivates me because it's much more exciting than doing something that literally doesn't matter. Like I read all these articles about millennials or whatever. It's like,
dude,
oh,
millennials.
they feel like they're just there for the paycheck, and it's like, how can you do that? Like 9 hours just for a paycheck, like, and you don't enjoy what you're doing. It just seems
that's the thing too. What boggles my mind is like if you're not. Like I said this in the last episode. Again, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, it's okay to start over and find something else. It's not the end of the world. Again, it's in certain people's situations, maybe you can't start over. But for the people that, again, maybe our age or something like that, you can start over. That's fine. It's just, you just gotta find what you love to do.
Dude, it was a huge jump for me. I mean, my channel at its peak, when I shut the company down, we could do, between $30,000 and $60,000 a month in revenue.
Yeah.
And it's like to step away from making those videos because I had a gut feeling that I didn't want to be in that space. And even though the money's great and you can just pump it out, I thought that long term it's going to benefit me more to get in a role where I can really learn how operations and really learn how to manage people and be a leader.
Yep.
So I think that's a really good point. You can always start over.
You can always
Even if
start
you have
over.
1 million subs, you can just start over and
Yeah.
just make a new channel.
Hey, look where you are now. Okay, well, Nick, I guess, man, dude, an hour. I think every time I do one of these, it just goes by so
Oh,
fast.
it breezes by. These mics are so nice,
I know,
man.
dude. We sound fantastic.
I know.
Yeah.
If only I could sing, I'd bust out a few rhymes here, but
Oh, dude, a singing podcast.
a sing along.
A little sing along.
Well, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
No, yeah,
And
dude,
I can't wait to come back.
Dude, I
like,
can't wait for you to come back. I can't wait for me to visit you in Texas and like maybe have Preston on.
do a little
actually be-
remote travel.
Yeah,
Come
remote
down to
travel.
Dallas.
Yeah.
And see our new warehouse.
Yep. Oh, dude, that'd be sick. Oh, and one last thing too. Well, before we wrap things up, but anything else you want to plug in? Like,
What do I want to plug? No, I just want them to follow this. I think this is going to be like a really cool journey, and I'm glad I got on very early on so that when it's the big thing, I can go back and brag to all my friends. Hey, I was on episode 2. Wasn't number 1. Wasn't number 1. I'm still salty.
But it was still a single digit number.
Hey, that's going to mean a lot when we're up to like episode 1,000, 1,500, you know,
Ooh, yeah,
all that jazz.
All that jazz. All right, Nick. Well, thanks for being on. And I hope you guys enjoyed this second episode of the All Van All Day. You guys can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, you know, all those platforms. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at All Day. Nope. Wow. You know, it's going to be hard trying to really nail down that outro.
Down.
Yeah, dude.
Once you get it down,
I got to nail that down.
It's like butter.
I know. So All Van All Day for Twitter and Instagram. And this will be probably posted. I think I'm trying to aim for like 2 a week. I think that's doable. So who knows?
I don't see why not.
Yeah. But all right, guys. Hope you guys have a good one. And we'll catch you guys later.